Hi, how are you? Today I am reviewing Panasonic LUMIX FZ80 review. 2-minute review. Introduction. Back in 2013, Panasonic launched the FZ70. The all-in-one super zoom camera offered a then unprecedented 60x optical zoom. Since then, many new super zooms have entered the market, but Panasonic hasn't had any reply, at least not in the super zoom category. That has changed with the introduction of the Panasonic FZ80. Key features and info. 18.1 megapixel f/3-inch CMOS sensor. 60x zoom lens, 20 to 1200 mm equivalent f/2.85.9. 3-inch touchscreen LCD display. 10 frames per second continuous shooting. RAW format support. 4K UHD video recording. 4K photo modes. Built-in Wi-Fi. $400 street price. FZ80 has a good touchscreen interface. The Panasonic FZ80 shares similar styling with its predecessor, the FZ70. It is an SLR-styled super zoom camera that offers a massive 60x optical zoom range, meaning that it is not a compact camera. The FZ80's dimensions are about 5.1 by 3.7 by 4.7 inches, 130 by 94 by 119 millimeters, and it weighs 21.7 ounces, 616 grams, with card and battery, which is just a bit shorter and a bit heavier than its predecessor. The rear display on the camera is good, and I often found myself opting to use it in lieu of the EVF in many situations. The 3-inch touchscreen LCD has 1,040,000 dots and is a fixed display. A tilting display would be welcome, especially because the display can be difficult to see in bright conditions. Image quality and high ISO performance. The FZ80 uses an 18.1 megapixel CMOS sensor, an upgrade over the 16.1 megapixel sensor found in its predecessor. The sensor is a small 0.3-inch type chip, which is what makes such a long zoom possible at this size and price point. It's arguable whether the FZ80's new image sensor and new Venus engine processor result in a significant improvement in image quality over the FZ70, as both cameras produce fair images at base ISO and marginal images at higher ISOs. However, the FZ80 does seem to resolve a bit more detail than its predecessor. Built-in lens. The 20 to 1200 mm equivalent lens offers a very wide and versatile 60x zoom and performs okay at certain focal lengths, but struggles at the extreme ends of the lens, especially the telephoto end where a super zoom is most likely to be used. The lens has a lot of distortion at the wide end and shows considerable purple fringing and issues with chromatic aberration, even when viewing JPEG images, which include a lot of in-camera corrections. Metering. I found the Panasonic FZ80 to provide generally good metering performance. It offers intelligent multiple, center-weighted and spot metering, with the lattermost option being linked to the autofocus point when using a compatible autofocus mode, such as 1-point autofocus. With its contrast detect autofocus system, the LUMIX FZ80 requires decent light for a good autofocus performance. At wide focal lengths, it can be quite fast, especially in good light. However, when you take full advantage of its 60x zoom lens, the FZ80 will struggle in low light conditions. Autofocus area modes include face, eye detection, tracking, 49 area, custom multi, 1 area and pinpoint. All of them work as expected, although one area doesn't seem to offer as precise autofocus performance as it has on other Panasonic cameras I've used. By this, I mean that the camera can struggle to focus on very fine details inside the focus area even when they fill a good portion of the focus area. Performance. The Panasonic FZ80 may shoot at the same speed as its predecessor, 10 frames per second, but its performance is considerably more impressive than the FZ70's specifications were. The FZ70's top burst speed was specified at 9 fps, but it managed 10 fps in our lab. However, the buffer depth was limited to only 3 JPEG frames, The FZ80 can shoot at 10 fps with autofocus locked for up to 13 RAW plus JPEG frames in around 100 JPEG frames. The RAW plus JPEG buffer depth is still a little disappointing and somewhat slow to clear at a bit less than 20 seconds, but the JPEG buffer depth is much more impressive and clears very quickly, taking less than a couple of seconds. I tested the FZ80's speed with a SanDisk Ultra SD card with 30 MB per second read speed and 10 MB per second write speed, so faster cards should perform better. Shooting modes. The LUMIX FZ80 includes additional distinct shooting modes, such as a panorama mode and various creative filters. The panorama mode did a good job, but the final panoramic image is a JPEG file and its height is limited to 1920 pixels. You can of course do better stitching your own panoramas on a computer, but if that isn't in the cards, the FZ80 can do okay on its own. Similarly, the built-in creative filters work okay, but don't look particularly good to my eye. If you want to add some creative flair to your photos, I recommend doing it in your photo editor of choice. For photographers who prefer to import their photos from their camera and stay hands-off, then the Creative Filters mode works well. Design. The FZ80, $297.99 at Amazon, is your typical bridge point-and-shoot. It marries a small, f/.3-inch, image sensor to a big zoom lens, putting the two together in a body that's about the size of a small SLR. Putting that glass in front of a sensor type developed for pocket-friendly cameras allows for an incredible zoom range, much more than you'd get from any SLR lens, in a package that measures 3.7 by 5.1 by 4.7 inches, HWD, and weighs about 1.4 pounds. Connectivity. The FZ80 has Wi-Fi for image transfer and remote control. It works with the Panasonic Image app, a free download for Android and iOS. It lets you copy photos from the camera to your phone for editing and sharing, and also offers full manual control and a live feed so you can use your phone as a remote control. Conclusions. The Panasonic LUMIX FZ80 delivers an incredible amount of zoom coverage for not a lot of money. It uses the same lens as its predecessor, but improves on fit and finish, sporting a better, touch-enabled rear LCD, a sharper EVF, Wi-Fi, and 4K video, all missing on the bargain-oriented FZ70. It costs about $100 more, but at $400 it still falls well into the range of affordability, especially given how far of a reach the lens delivers. You can spend a bit more on our editor's choice, the Canon PowerShot SX60HS, which has a similar zoom range and adds a vari-angle LCD. If you're able to spend more than that on a super zoom model, consider getting one with a 1-inch sensor, like the Panasonic FZ1000 or any member of the Sony RX10 series. So I highly recommend getting the Panasonic LUMIX FZ80 review. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe my RS product review channel. Thank you.